Thank you for listening to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. I'm Yuras. I'm here with my co-host.
Rain, as always. Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Completely okay. We're celebrating the longest day here in Lithuania by the time we're recording, so I'm pretty excited about the bonfire that's happening in the, what do you call it? Like a historical place?
Yeah, we have some historical celebrations here. It's the Midsummer celebrations. Happy Midsummer to all of our listeners. Today we're going to be talking about the Bakersfield tree. Interesting case. From 2018, we have 3 friends who have either been murdered or have gone missing within a span of 34 days, I believe, in 2018. It's a bizarre set of, let's say, cases. And there's speculation that all 3 individuals that we're going to be talking about have a connection. I think 2 of them had already been proven by law enforcement to have a connection. We have 3 individuals, Micah, James, and Baylee. Micah went missing on March 23rd. James was killed on April 8th. And Baylee, she was last seen on April 24th. All of them seem to have been connected in Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield, what can you tell us about Bakersfield?
I actually did not know or ever heard of this town before we did our research, and I'm pretty surprised how close it is in LA.
It's like
just a little bit up there.
Just a little bit, a little drive away from LA.
Yeah.
It's Bakersfield is like a small town, but like a very large small town.
It's kind of like expanded, I would say. It seems so.
400,000 people. It's not glamorous because it's not on the coast.
400,000 people? Is it still a town?
I think it's still a town. I think it's just very expansive. You know, a lot of people probably want to live there.
Of course, it's like really close to LA.
Baylee Despot, Micah Holsonbake, and James Kulstad. They make up the Bakersfield tree. They were all 3 friends from Bakersfield. Some of them went missing, or one of the person was murdered within 1 month of one another in the spring of 2018. Over the years, their mothers have all been doing their own investigation. After making connections between their children, the women banded together to share leads and raise attention for the cases. The Bakersfield tree and their mothers became the subjects of the 3-part investigation discovery true crime docuseries, The Bakersfield Tree, a tale of murder and motherhood. We've seen this. It's a 3-episode docuseries. What do you think about it?
I think the mothers did amazing. They could have just waited until the police solved it, but they really actually did a lot of things and they pushed the cases forward. I mean, of course, it's still generally unsolved, but it's just amazing how much they managed to do, you know what I mean?
Do you think that the police would have connected the dots if it wasn't for the mothers? Like, for example, we know for a fact that Baylee's and Micah's cases have been officially connected by law enforcement. Do you think that they would have made this connection without the mothers?
The thing is, I don't know, because they probably have other cases to work on. So with these cases, probably potentially could have been in the back burner since it's been too long, maybe. But
Forgotten.
Kind of maybe forgotten, yeah. But because of the mothers who kept on pushing like updates and reports and not letting their kids be forgotten, got solved.
They did a good job.
They did an amazing job, for sure.
Let's start with Micah. Micah is the first person that I want to talk about because he's the first person to go missing
But
in
this
this
one,
case.
but Micah's case was the one who's kind of solved, right? Like basically solved.
Micah's case has been officially solved, but let's talk about it because it might lead to explaining or giving us some insights into what happened to the other two people. Micah was a veteran who became addicted to opioids after a 2003 surgery to remove a banging growth in his throat. He lost a banking job and began building guns in a garage with friends for extra income. According to court documents, Micah owed drug-related debts to members of the Hells Angels as well as the cartel. One friend of Micah's told police his life seemed to be headed in a downward spiral after he lost the ability to see his son and often got into fights with others at bars. In one witness statement, an unidentified woman told police of a prior incident when she and Micah were kidnapped, the two of them, at gunpoint, and the two of them had been driven in a location in West Bakersfield. Apparently, Micah jumped out the car and started running as the car was still driving. The female witness explained. That account was corroborated by a friend of Micah's who told police that he said he had been kidnapped at gunpoint. He told the same story to his parents. He told them that he feared for his life, frequently thought he was being followed in his car, and rambled about various people he believed were out to get him. But his parents mostly wrote it off. That's kind of crazy, right?
This is pretty chilling, honestly. I remember this part in the documentary, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
First, they were just friends with the killer, and then it was a random drive, right, on a random day, and then Micah just ran away all of a sudden into a plantation. Is it a plantation?
Yeah, it was kind of there's like more happening, I think, in Micah's life leading up to the well,
Murder.
yeah, we kind of know Micah was most likely, even though his full remains have never been found. We kind of know that Micah, unfortunately, is not alive anymore. That's for certain. I think let's not jump into those details just now.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's perfect because it's gonna tie in when we talk about one of the other people in this case. The last finishing thoughts on Micah is that he was last seen on March 23rd, and he's never been seen again. Now let's move to another member of the Bakersfield tree, which is James Kulstad. James was a surfer and an inventor. He was living in San Diego when he was hit by a car in 2007. He became addicted to opioids and then fentanyl and heroin and moved back to Bakersfield away from San Diego. He has two daughters, Cameron and Autumn. James was a bright light the moment he walked into the room. That's what his mom told the media. He was an amazing father and a great friend. Micah, the man that we just talked about, had been hanging out with James for some time before Micah disappeared. It's not clear when they first met, but it appears that they became friendly through the drug scene. Like Micah, James first became addicted to prescription painkillers after being hit by a car, before progressing to fentanyl patches and eventually heroin. In the wake of her father's death, James's daughter Cameron said that a number of stories and rumors about her father surfaced. She said that some of the stories I've heard is that he was a really bad person these last 3 years. That's what she said in an interview in 2019. On the night of his murder, James reportedly drove to an acquaintance home in Southwest Bakersfield, where his brother Ryan Kulstad was hanging out. Ryan claims that the homeowner allegedly owed money to James and told Ryan that if James came over to his house, he'd call his boys and they would come over there strapped, which Ryan says he didn't interpret as a serious threat. Sounds like a serious threat to me.
Sounds like an intense threat.
Ryan and James reportedly argued about this on the phone, and James showed up at the house a couple of hours later regardless. Ryan says that he had just returned from driving someone else home and noticed a driver in a silver sedan behaving suspiciously as he returned to the house. Moments later, Ryan and his unidentified male passenger heard gunshots on the next block. An unknown gunman had opened fire on James Kulstad from another car, causing him to crash into a parked trailer because at the time of his death he was also in a car. James was, I believe, getting out of the driveway. The same silver sedan was later seen speeding away from the scene. So the silver sedan is likely driven by the killer of James Kulstad.
And this car, it was never found, like abandoned somewhere or something?
No, and I didn't find any information about any of our suspects in this case who would be driving a silver sedan. But it's interesting because now we're starting to connect the dots that something's off in that circle of friends. Micah goes missing on March 23rd, seemingly for no reason. And then just 2 weeks later, James, who Micah has been acquainted with, I don't think it was really, we watched the docuseries. I don't think they ever went into details on how much of a friendship James and Micah had.
Yeah, actually that documentary, it's amazing, but it seemed like it's focused more on what the mothers did, like how they progressed the case and so on and so forth,
Yeah, I think there was a brief mention that I think
they were hanging out together, or at least like Micah helped James or James helped Micah with the moving or something.
Yeah, something like that. That I think Micah was, like an office guy, and James was more like a handyman type of guy. So I think, James helped him out with some banking activities because Micah was helping out James with some banking activities, and then James was helping out with like some moving stuff, doing some handy stuff, right?
It's kind of crazy how they were connected in a town of 400k people.
Yeah.
Just so interesting.
And that something happened to the both of them within the span of 2
Baylee
weeks.
Too.
Yeah, we'll get into Baylee in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan and James reportedly... Yeah, sorry, I was about to read the same stuff. Let's talk about the house where James went to. Because James went to like a party close to where his brother Ryan was living, and then as he was leaving the party, someone in a silver sedan started shooting at him. Let's talk about that house a little bit. So the owner of that house, where everything went down, or like in the driveway, was a man named Dr. Sukhjit Bajwa. Okay.
You probably butchered the name, but
let's just
okay.
Dr. Sukhjit Bajwa. And let's just call him Dr. Bajwa.
Okay.
So Dr. Bajwa at the time was a chiropractor with a local practice. Dr. Bajwa lived in a quiet subdivision in Southwest Bakersfield. It was an unlikely setting for a drive-by shooting, and according to initial news reports, police were at a loss for the motive behind the killing of James Kulstad, or what James was even doing in the neighborhood at all. Like, I guess law enforcement didn't even know exactly why he was there, because it really felt like the party already had been in full swing. He just showed up and then had to leave shortly after, so I don't even know if James went there to party or was there some sort of a, a different motive behind James even showing up. Isn't that kind of like weird that he goes in kind of late and then leaves shortly after, and as he leaves there's a silver sedan that guns him down?
I don't know. It's weirder for me. What's weirder for me is the lack of information about that place, that party, or whatever.
So
who was he with and all?
So Dr. Bajwa, it turns out, had been arrested twice in 2016 and in 2017. Yeah, this is the stuff that has been not on the docuseries. And he was arrested twice for driving impaired, so he had 2 DUIs. Wait, DUIs, or... I'm just trying not to mix it up with the do-it-yourself.
That's DIY, don't worry.
Okay, so it was DUI. Okay. So he had 2 DUIs, right? And in addition, there was liquid heroin, Xanax, and hydrocodone, I guess, found on him. Police also found 2 unregistered loaded guns in his car, and AR-15 and a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle with a fake silencer attached.
Jeez.
With a fake silencer. Why
this
would you
guy
have...
was packing.
It seems like a lot of people had owned guns in this story. I'm thinking about that fake silencer. Why would you have a fake... Because, owning like 2 guns in America, I guess it's not out of the question. But then owning a fake silencer, I don't think like a regular gun owner in America owns fake silencers.
Maybe.
But why would you have a fake silencer? Because the only things that jump to my mind is you use it for intimidation. Because if you have a fake silencer, you could show up to someone's house and you could threaten them that, oh, I'm about to like kill you, and no one's gonna hear. Because if you show up to someone's house with a gun, some people would think, oh, you're not gonna shoot me, everyone's gonna hear you.
Okay, I'm really sorry. This is gonna sound like the stupidest question ever. It's just I really don't know anything about guns. What do you mean by fake silencer? Like, does it work, or is it like, I don't know, substandard?
So I think it doesn't work. Okay, so you know what the silencer is?
Yeah.
Like it's
to mask the sound of the gun. Yeah,
it's like this little tube that you attach to a gun. So I think it was a tube that wouldn't do anything.
Oh, somehow I thought it's working, just made by like a crappier company.
No, I feel like it's a fake silencer. So I assume that what is happening is that he would be using this for intimidation.
It sounds like it.
So now this guy owning guns, it's not self-defense. It feels like it's more of a offensive use.
And why would you have it in your car?
Maybe he needs to drive around with it,
Is it normal? Probably not normal.
I think it could be a little bit normal in America, because road rage in America could like escalate crazy. I've seen some videos in Texas. It's like not...
Probably with you. A gun with you. Like maybe just one, but like multiple ones in your car.
I feel like if I was there, I'd probably have it. Because you don't want to be the only guy without it.
Yeah, but would you have like, I don't know, multiple ones or just one?
Probably one is enough. All of this was detailed in a disciplinary complaint filed by the California Board of Chiropractic Examiners, and afterwards, Bajwa basically I think he lost his license to do work initially
Oh,
because you don't
because
want.
of the record.
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh, come
bad.
on. It's a pretty bad record. It's not just like DUI once. It's twice. They found multiple guns on you and you're doing drugs.
Yeah. It was the type of conspiracy theory, but basically also they thought that Bajwa could have been running a black market gun and drug trafficking ring. And he was a central figure. So basically this type of a conspiracy that kind of came out there about Dr. Bajwa, well, most people instinctively wrote off as too bizarre to be credible because, it's just a chiropractor. Is he like doing back realignments during the day and is like this crazy, like, central figure of a gun cartel and drugs? But it must have rung a bell to Lance Holsonbake. Holsonbake. Lance is the father of Micah. Because before Micah's disappearance, he told his father that he was putting together guns for people. And according to a 2019 interview, Micah's father, Lance, said that he reacted in disbelief to this confession because the idea that Micah would risk his career by getting involved in illegal gun manufacturing just didn't make much sense. If you're this afraid, just stop. That's what he told him. And he'd say, I can't do that. He was afraid if he did that, people would come after his family. So Lance wrote it off as Micah's paranoia, exaggerated by his drug use, and he did not know how much of it was real and how much was in Micah's head. According to Lance, Bakersfield police initially suggested that Micah had left town on his own volition after getting mixed up in criminal activity and didn't make much of an effort to even investigate his disappearance. This is terrible. Though the family said that he was last seen on March 23rd, police claimed he wasn't reported missing until April 4th. And it appears that they waited until April 13, where he has been missing for kind of like close to a month before they even started investigating. So, safe to say, they botched Micah's case investigation.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. After James was murdered, a few days later, the Micah Holsonbake and James Kulstad families grew increasingly frustrated with the apparent lack of interest in investigating either of the cases and told the media later that as they began digging into the circumstances surrounding both of their respective sons' murder and disappearance, one name kept coming up with everyone they talked to, and that was a woman named Baylee Despot. And actually, shortly after, a couple weeks after James was killed, Baylee went missing. Baylee Despot, what do you remember about her from the docuseries?
I remember she was young.
20.
Yes, but her life experience seemed like it's way more for her age. And it felt like at one point I remember feeling like she fell into the wrong crowd, the worst crowd. And it seemed like she was just a teenager-ish. Well, not really, not anymore. She was 20. But it did feel like she was just a happy-go-lucky kid. That was my first impression, but I mean, in this case, with the three of them, at first I thought Micah was just a regular banker. But seems like I was just looking at the surface. The plot twists were very surprising for me.
Yeah, to me, Micah and James still feel like, they're kind of like involved a little bit with like the shady part of Bakersfield, but they still have day jobs, right? It feels like Micah, I don't know what he was doing. I know he was fired from his banking job, but I think he was still doing something.
Yeah.
And I think James, I feel like James was just a handyman.
Yeah, you know how some of our cases, well, a lot of our cases, we tackle disappearances and missing people, but most of them are like innocent who just were like victims and they just weirdly disappeared under very mysterious and unknown disappearances. But this case, it seems like I thought they were kind of like that until we dive in more.
Yeah.
And we find out more about them.
It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people, but it feels like they definitely have been around a lot of bad people.
Yes.
So it's a dangerous lifestyle. Baylee Despot, she was 20, and she was reported missing in late April 2018. The families say that it was her disappearance that finally motivated the police and local news to start investigating the links between all three disappearances, and one of them is a murder. So 2 disappearances, one is the murder of James. And Bailey's sister, Caitlin, described her as a girl that's grown up in a good neighborhood and she was raised by good parents and had a good childhood. She could have had everything she ever wanted, much like James and Micah. And beneath the surface, she was as troubled as either of the men. After graduating high school, she initially ran off to Vegas to marry her boyfriend. Remember, this was briefly mentioned in the docuseries. So I think this initial boyfriend had nothing to do with her disappearance because, as far as I remember, he was all blurred out during the docuseries. So I think he's just someone that was a boyfriend of Baylee, but it seems like they just rushed into the marriage way too quick.
Yeah, and the relationship fell through.
Yeah, 1 year afterwards. Then at some point she had wrecked her car, she had lost her job, and in her mother's words, her life just spiraled out of control. In July of 2017, Baylee was arrested for disorderly conduct in front of her friend Micah's house. So in July, in the summer of 2017, she already knew Micah. And let's remember that the two of them went missing in spring of 2018. So if they knew of each other already in the summer of 2017, so it's almost fair to say that they knew each other for about a year leading up to their disappearance. So it wasn't just, it feels like they knew they were kind of like friends. This came as a surprise to her sister, the fact that she was arrested due to disorderly conduct, who had at one point been friendly with Micah herself, because she said that she thought that Micah was a good guy, and she thought that Micah was always trying to take care of Baylee a little bit, like buying her like Ubers and stuff like that.
Okay, how old was Micah here?
Micah is 34. So
and Baylee?
20.
Okay.
So there's a bit of an age gap for sure, but I think they were just friends. I don't think there was anything more than that, as far as I remember. What do you remember? Nothing more, right?
Yeah, nothing connecting them other than friendship.
Yeah, and then Bailey's life continued to spiral out of control because the next month after she was arrested for disorderly conduct, something terrible happened. She was drugged and S8 at an acquaintance apartment complex. And after this, and we don't know anything about this story, at least me. I just know that it just happened and it was never really explained, like who did it, and I think law enforcement is like not suspecting that this had anything to do with her like disappearance, like directly. Unless you have something.
No, I don't have anything. I just wanted to say it's terrible.
Is a disaster, right? And then she disappeared for days at a time afterwards. She resurfaced with horrible stories. She was making like phone calls, begging to be picked up by her family. On one occasion, her sister Caitlin remembers she had none of her belongings, no shoes. A couple of nights after that, there were two vehicles that came to pick her up. And apparently the family could tell by the look on her face that she didn't want to go. But if she didn't go, Caitlin said, we didn't know what would happen. I don't know. I feel like, to me, it sounds like you should probably not let her go.
Definitely not. No.
Right? Mm-hmm. If it's like you feel like she doesn't want to go. Mm-hmm. But who knows how it really went down.
Yeah, and they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. And so soon after all of that crap that happened to Baylee, she had a new boyfriend, Mathew Queen, 43-year-old convicted felon, and an all-around bad person. Not much is known about his background, with one major exception that in the early 2000s, he pled guilty to one count of making a false statement to a federal firearms dealer after he used a false address but his real name to purchase $11,000 worth of guns from dealers in Indiana, and then later these guns were recovered at crime scenes in Detroit and Chicago. So Mathew Queen already looking like not the best guy in the world right here.
I would say the age difference between Mathew and Baylee was insane.
Yeah, but you could tell that this guy had already been a gun runner for a very long time, because think about this for a second. He basically, in the early 2000s, already bought $11,000 worth of guns in Indiana, and those guns later on appeared in crime scenes in Detroit and Chicago. So it means that he is a gun distributor. He is distributing guns to criminals. And those criminals are taking those guns and committing crimes in Illinois and Michigan. I don't know how that works, but I guess he was transporting them through state lines.
Okay, so he had connections.
Or at least this was his part-time gig, because he did have a regular job. Apparently, at the time of all of this happening, he was an electrician. So he did have a day job, but it seems like after work, he was a gun manufacturer, and he was selling them to criminals. Local interest in the case reached an even greater frenzy after Micah's severed arm was found in the Kern River in the Hart Park on the east side of town, not far from where he was last seen. Remember, this was mentioned in the docuseries. What do you remember about the arm? Like, Micah is missing, his arm is found in Kern River. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that Micah is unfortunately deceased.
Of course, and
right?
In a really gruesome manner. Because I remember in the documentary, apparently it was found by children in a bag. In the river, right?
Yeah, in the river. I think the detective mentioned that the children thought they found a treasure.
Yeah, and they opened it up. Can you imagine the trauma to the kids?
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And apparently, from the looks of it, the hand or the arm was
sawed off.
Yeah.
Because of how the bone was cut.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it seems like Micah has been murdered, and
brutally,
his body has been dismembered, and probably parts of it have been dumped in different locations in California.
Yeah, and most of which haven't been found yet.
Yeah, by that time, the family of the Bakersfield tree, they already had been doing their own investigation. Remember the three ladies? They had already 10,000 followers on Facebook. They had 5,000 followers in a private group. At some point, another curveball came around when a former friend of Baylee, remember Baylee, the girl who disappeared? Well, a former friend, Sarah Wiedemeyer, who was 21, filed a restraining order against Baylee's mother, Jane Parent, as it was reported that Sarah had moved in with Mathew Queen just weeks after Baylee disappeared, and she had already been 4 months pregnant at that time with Matthew's child. So this is kind of crazy because now we have another person, Sarah Wiedemeyer. She is a friend of Baylee's. I guess they were hanging out, and by the time that, Baylee went missing, her boyfriend, Mathew Queen, moved in Sarah Wiedemeyer to his own house, and she had already been 4 months pregnant. So with his child. So I feel like Mathew Queen had already been, let's say, cheating on Baylee
with her friend, which is crazy.
It's crazy, and this friend is also 21, and she is super young, 21, and she is already getting involved with this guy. And on top of that, was such a weird situation at the Queen residence because Mathew Queen was also living with his mother
and
his
sons.
Ex-wife.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And the kids from the ex-wife. And then he is moving in multiple new girlfriends that he is impregnating in that crazy house.
Well, that just made me uncomfortable. How did that even work?
I just feel like it's such a... why would anyone be okay with that living arrangement?
And the ex-wife was there. What? Okay, well, the girls were young. Come on.
Yeah,
Baylee was
still.
20 and Sarah was 21. What were we doing when we were 20 and 21? We were basically kids, and they were kids. It's just this guy, Mathew, was... Can I say a predator? Because they're not minors anymore, but it's just like the age gap makes me think that he was preying on younger women.
It feels like he was a bit of a predator for sure.
Yeah.
He was maybe looking for vulnerable young females.
Oh yeah, because Sarah and Baylee, from what I remembered from the documentary, they were both sharing this kind of like they were both drinking a lot, kind of lost, if I remember correctly, and fell with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, by the looks of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Parent, Jane Parent, the mother of Baylee, she claimed that Sarah Wiedemeyer claimed that Jane Parent was harassing her and her fiancé Mathew by hanging up missing person flyers in their neighborhood. The restraining order wasn't granted, but Mathew Queen allegedly began making disturbing social media posts about Baylee, Micah, and the Parent family, with Jane Parent as the primary target. And in mid-2019, the investigation seemed to grind to a halt until May 27th of 2020. This was 2 years after the first developments in the Bakersfield tree case. 2 years after, in May of 2020, the Kern County District Attorney held a press conference to announce, and this was a huge shocker for a lot of people, that Baylee and Mathew Queen were being investigated as the killers of Micah. So now Baylee goes from being a victim to a culprit.
That was the most shocking part for me, honestly, because I really did not expect that. I thought they were all victims of Mathew Queen.
But seems like Baylee, according to law enforcement, with Mathew Queen and the third man, Mathew Wende Castile, remember?
This was a dude who was already in prison.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The three of them were charged with alleged kidnapping, torture, and first-degree murder, as well as unlawful manufacturing of weapons, conspiracy relating to the murder and torture plot, and a slew of other assault and gun charges, 34 in total. Mathew Queen and Mathew Wende Castile, they were both in custody at the time that the charges were laid against them. But even though Baylee, at that point, had officially been a missing person from all the way back in 2018, the DA's office issued a warrant for her arrest as well, leading to some speculation that she might be still alive. According to court records, Mathew Queen allegedly believed that Micah had stolen a .44 caliber revolver from him, and then himself and Baylee kidnapped Micah, zip-tied him to a chair at Matthew Van de Castell's garage, and attempted to torture him in order to extract information. A blood stain in the garage matched Micah's DNA. Matthew Van de Castell told police that he didn't see or hear Micah on the night that he was killed, but knew that the other two had brought him there to question him. After several hours, Baylee allegedly returned to the apartment, seeming flustered, and asked to change her clothes in the back bedroom. Before they left, Mathew Queen told Matthew Van de Castell, Mathew Van de Castell is like, oh, I don't know what's happening, I didn't know what's happening. They're literally torturing and killing Micah in his garage, and he's just like, oh, I don't know anything.
From what I know, he was apparently really high.
Was it mentioned in the story?
In the documentary.
They said that he was high?
He said that he was high. And then Mathew Queen...
he said, yeah.
He said.
It's convenient that he said that he was high.
Yeah, apparently Mathew Queen and Baylee took Micah into another room and he did not see anything.
Convenient. And then at some point, Baylee walks into the house from the garage and says, I need to change my clothes. And
apparently she was very pale and looked very shaken.
The next day, Mathew Queen returned to the Van de Castell place, and he said to Matthew that he needed help disposing of something in a large black storage container in the trunk of his car. And then Mathew Van de Castell claims that he refused to help with disposing of the body, most likely Micah's body.
Do you think so far it's believable for you?
Well, get this. According to police reports, Mathew Van de Castell's Google history during that period of time included searches for lye chemical formula, lye for sale, and how long does it take to dissolve a human body, as well as browsing for lye chemicals on Home Depot and Lowe's website, like Lowe's. Yeah, so...
It feels very... some sort of like a Breaking Bad episode.
It really does.
Right?
Mathew Queen, Baylee, and Mathew Van de Castell allegedly manufactured and sold AR-15s from gun-build kits. Other witness testimony released by courts described various kidnappings that witnesses alleged that Mathew Queen, known as the Boogeyman of Bakersfield, committed. In one incident, Mathew Queen allegedly handcuffed one victim to a chair and put an electric dog collar around his neck because he believed that man had stolen a gun part from him. Another witness said that Mathew Queen and Mathew Van de Castell showed up armed at his hotel room after that witness told Baylee where he was staying, and that he believed that they were intentionally trying to kill him because he had been arrested with a large quantity of narcotics that he was fronted or given without paying for them, and the people who had gave him the narcotics could have been upset. So basically, it seems like, as the way I understood it, is that Mathew Queen and Mathew Van de Castell were maybe hired by drug lords to go and intimidate this kind of like guy who got caught with drugs. He's not a good guy himself, but yeah. So they were definitely like how were they even on the streets?
Yeah.
Like that's the scary part.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like how many of these type of guys are on the streets right now? That's kind of scary. It is also believed that he made anonymous calls to the police tip line to misdirect the investigation. Apparently, Mathew Queen was calling police, pretending to be someone else, to kind of like cast suspicion somewhere else, he referred to Baylee as a sugar mama, a phrase which Mathew Queen reportedly used to describe her when he spoke to investigators in August of 2019. So basically, he was like sloppy. He was calling police and he was saying, Sugar Mama did this and that. But he already called her Sugar Mama on a separate questioning. So they know that he's the only person calling Baylee Sugar Mama. So how is he being this sloppy right here?
That's true for it. What it seems like an experienced criminal. I would say so, right?
Very sloppy. Then, when he was out on bail for unrelated gun charges in January 2019, Queen allegedly kidnapped another man at gunpoint and forced him to walk into the Kern River, while Queen accused him of snitching to the cops. He's been in custody since July of 2019 due to this kidnapping, and he's never been out ever since. So, even before they sentenced him with the murder of Micah, he was already in prison because he had kidnapped someone and made that person walk into the Kern River because he was snitching to the police, according to him.
This guy's terrifying.
Yeah, right? But then Baylee Despot. Baylee has been missing. According to official statements from law enforcement, no one knows what happened to her. After the warrant was issued for her arrest, a wave of speculation followed that she had faked her own death or that she even fled to Mexico with the help of an unspecified cartel connections. That story seems less and less likely as more details have emerged from court documents. Mathew Castile, the assistant of Mathew Queen, by the looks of it, told police that Baylee was falling apart mentally after she murdered Micah. Van de Castile and Mathew Queen both suspected that she was cooperating with police on an investigation relating to the illegal weapons charges, called her a snitch in one interview, and told investigators that he believed that Mathew Queen made Baylee disappear. In one interview, a female witness said that Mathew Queen kidnapped her at gunpoint, took her to a field somewhere, and held an AR-15 to her head while he questioned her if she was faithful. When police questioned Queen about Baylee's disappearance in July of 2019, he said that he said that Baylee was depressed and off her medications, and that she had said that she wanted to die. When the investigator told Michael Queen there had been allegations of domestic violence involving him and Baylee, some of which resulted in bruises, Mathew Queen said that he never laid a hand on anyone. But that's kind of...
Yeah, right.
That's kind of hard to believe right now. He told the detective she was clumsy. Despite all of this, Jane Parent, Baylee's mother, said that police have told her that they don't consider Mathew Queen a person of interest in Baylee's disappearance. I find that very suspicious. Oh, not suspicious. I find that very strange that police do not consider Mathew Queen to be involved in Baylee's disappearance. And
I kind of want to interrogate this guy, because he definitely knows something.
Yeah.
If he didn't do it himself, but I don't know.
It's weird that they are, and I will tell you exactly why I think it's pretty strange why they're not considering Mathew Queen a suspect in Baylee's disappearance. Maybe they do. Maybe it's just for the public. Maybe it's just a strategy, because I have no idea how they would not consider him. They definitely do, and I'll tell you why. The rest of Micah's body, in the meantime, had been recovered. The rest of Micah's body has not been recovered. Remember, his arm was found. But I believe his skull was recovered.
Oh, that was his. Yeah. I remember one part of the documentary. At the very later part, apparently there was a skull that was found in some sort of body of water, like a lake or
I
something.
feel like it could be the same river. And then I don't think they ever like explained who's, or maybe we just missed it,
We potentially may have missed it. Yep,
but apparently it was Micah's.
that makes sense.
And before we kind of go into a bit of a discussion of the weird things that I found, let me quickly walk you through the additional last pieces of information, just like quick notices. So one thing to mention is that Baylee, she was diagnosed with a bipolar disorder by the age of 20. So at the same age that she disappeared, at the age of 20, she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I don't think this was mentioned in the docuseries, right?
No, it wasn't.
About 1 month after Baylee went missing, some of her belongings were located by her friend's front door with a note reading, "Tell Baylee that I love her, but I cannot be with her." And from security footage, it was identified that Mathew Queen was the person dropping that stuff off. So 1 month after Baylee disappears, Mathew Queen gets all of Baylee's stuff and drops it off with a note saying, "Tell Baylee that I love her, but I cannot be with her." You know? So
Could be a cover up,
that he's trying to make it seem that,
We broke up.
and she's somewhere gone right now. But he may have killed her.
I wouldn't put it past this guy. It seems like he did so much shady stuff.
Yeah, so basically another thing to mention is that Mathew Queen has been sentenced to 30 years to life plus 56 years. I don't know how it works, but I'm kind of pretty happy with that.
Me too.
I don't know how it works in America. You get sentenced 30 years and then, the judge was like, "You know what? On top of that, let's give you 56 more."
It should be the other way around, but yeah.
No, his sentence is 30 years to life in prison, and then after you did that, you get 56 more.
I think what I'm trying to say is it would make more sense if it's like, oh, you're gonna get 56 plus 30. Because the extra is like way more in this regard. Oh yeah, by the way, we forgot to tell you, we're adding 56 more years.
Just in case.
Yeah.
You managed to.
You managed to survive the 30. Yeah, there's still 56
for you. Yeah. Basically, he's still trying to appeal. I think the sentence. He claims that he never murdered Micah. And he claims that he doesn't know what happened to Baylee. In the court proceedings...
I kind of want to punch this guy.
In the court proceedings, he said, "I can never make your family whole again, and I'm sorry." He said, "Not a day goes by that I don't think about that day and how I should have done things differently." So he did show signs of remorse in the proceedings.
Oh, come on. It could be all fake.
Of course, I'm not saying that it's genuine. I'm just saying that's what he said. Yeah, so now this is where things kind of get interesting. So some of the questions that we are left after all of this tragic stuff is Baylee Despot's whereabouts. Baylee Despot's what happened to her. We do not know what happened to Baylee Despot. It's not been explained. We do not know the exact motivation and details behind James killing. The person who killed James. We do not know what happened to James. It's never been explained. We don't know the exact connections between the cases. We know that Baylee and Micah are connected. Police have apparently solved the case. Police are saying that Michael Queen, Vanda Castile, and Baylee murdered Micah. Do you think that Baylee murdered Micah? She is responsible in some way?
For some reason, I don't know, because the other dude, the one in the prison, the one with the weird name last
Vanda Castile?
Yeah. I kind of believe him when he said that Baylee was there. I don't know.
Just because law enforcement has so much more info than us, who are we to like say, oh, Baylee couldn't have done it?
Definitely.
So I'm not gonna say that Baylee is innocent.
And there's a reason why the police looks at her like the suspect. One
Yeah.
of the suspects.
And they have way more information from us.
Way more.
So are
Definitely.
we just gonna say that Bailey's innocent? I mean, I'm not saying she's guilty because I haven't, seen any like more information. But all I'm gonna say is that if police suspect that she's guilty, I think there is a very high chance that she is involved in the murder of Micah. So
Do you think she was just a witness, though? She could have just been a witness.
I think there is a chance by the sound of it that she had already been spiraling down to the point where she would be part of it. Part of the violent murder.
Honestly, I don't think she's capable of it. Of course, we don't
Together
know her
with-
personally.
Together with Mathew Queen.
I think there could be a chance that she was just there, being forced to be there.
I do think that if there was no Mathew Queen, that most likely Baylee would have been
Just
another person.
another person, yeah.
But because of Mathew Queen, I do feel like Mathew Queen was the person who made her go into this lifestyle. But at the same time, she's an adult. Everyone, after a certain
She's
age,
20, though.
after a certain age, you need to stop trying to kill people.
No,
that's
but
not.
I really don't think she. I don't know. From the way I know her, from all of the information we have of her, her pictures and all, she doesn't seem like she's capable of killing.
No, she looked like a very, at least the way they portrayed her on the docuseries, because it could be fake.
Could be fake, yeah.
But at least the way it was shown on the docuseries, she was a very good girl. A good girl with a lot of problems.
Yes, she seemed like a typical. I would even look at her as like a later teenager, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a
On
late.
the late side of
It feels like-
teenage years, because it didn't feel like she's already like an adult, a matured adult.
But she did feel like she lived a long life, even it looks like she's not alive anymore. She does look like she had a lot of experience.
Definitely.
A lot of different
But the
things.
thing is, also the way her mom talks about her, it doesn't feel like she would commit such. And think of it this way: Micah's arm was found at the bottom of a lake or the river.
Yeah,
I don't think Baylee is capable of like.
sawing it off.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking that maybe she was there and she was forced to be there. Otherwise, something's bad gonna happen to her, and maybe she was just forced to watch the whole thing, or like, let's say, participate. She was forced, from the looks of it, from my perspective.
I can see that definitely. I will say that, yeah, the last few things that are still unclear for us is the exact involvement of the cartel, the Hells Angels, Vanda Castile, Wiedemeyer, Sarah Wiedemeyer, let's not forget that lady, and then Dr. Bajwa. These are characters that we don't really know their exact involvement,
Yeah,
which is suspicious.
very much so, yeah. I wonder if the police interviewed them.
So, I think they definitely talked with them.
And wait. Do you think there was a
For sure.
search that happened in Mathew Queen's home?
Yes. They found blood. They found blood in Vanda Castile's garage.
No, but like Mathew Queen's.
I mean, I would be surprised that they didn't search his house.
That's true, but
Yeah, I feel like they did, It would be bizarre if they just didn't. They already charged him with murder of Micah, so they might as well go and check out his house, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like
So I was just
it would be
wondering,
pretty
maybe.
weird to like not look at the house
Yeah, true.
of a killer.
Because I'm wondering where Baylee is. Is she alive?
We're gonna talk about it in a
Okay.
bit. I have some more information, but let me quickly go. I think I've noted down for myself. Okay, so this is the thing that Sarah Wiedemeyer. This is the first uncovering thing. Remember, there was a strange thing that was happening in the docuseries. Jane, Bailey's mother, was putting up posters, and someone was taking
Yes.
them down.
And what's that term? Like putting
Grease,
yeah,
oil,
grease
oil on the
on the poles.
pole,
So
so
it would
that
be impossible for the mom to paste in some more posters.
Sarah Wiedemeyer.
That was her?
It was Sarah Wiedemeyer.
Wow.
It was Sarah Wiedemeyer.
How did you know?
It was explained later.
Oh, that's
It came out.
crazy.
All along, it was Sarah Wiedemeyer.
But wasn't she friends with Baylee?
She was friends with Bailey, but now she was apparently
Screwing her then boyfriend.
she was already pregnant before.
Damn.
She was pregnant with Matthew's child before Bailey went missing. And also, that whole Sarah Wiedemeyer thing is kind of bizarre because before Sarah Wiedemeyer was pregnant with Queen's baby, she was the girlfriend of Wanda Castile.
Oh my gosh, it's all interconnected.
So she was the girlfriend of Wanda Castile, and once Bailey went missing, she became the official girlfriend of Queen.
Oh yeah, and then that
And
guy
Wanda
told her.
And yeah, and then Wanda... Finish, please.
That guy with the last name I can't
Wanda
seem...
Castile.
Vanda Castillo.
Wanda Castile.
Vanda Castillo.
Not Castillo, it's not Spanish.
I always thought it was like Castillo or something.
Wanda Castile.
Vanda Castillo.
Okay.
Butcher that name. Anyways, that guy. He warned Sarah to stay away from Mathew Queen because he's dangerous.
Yeah. But how crazy that they're still all like friends, and then Mathew is living with ex-wife and kids and his mom.
Honestly, I find it disgusting how Sarah betrayed Bailey like that. Also, greased up the pole when Bailey's mom, a desperate mom just trying to find her daughter, is putting up posters. Like, girl, have some sort of respect.
During the docuseries, this woman, a reporter named Olivia Lavoie, was mentioned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a person who has been investigating thoroughly. She made a post on Reddit with a very, very detailed timeline of events. I'm not going to go through all of it. You could Google it and find it. I will tell you the stuff that kind of were strange to me. Okay? On March 24th, one day after Micah's disappearance, we believe that Micah has been killed in Wanda Castile's garage by Wanda Castile, Queen, and Bailey. One day after, 24th, apparently Queen returned to Wanda Castile's house and he asked him if he could help a hand with a black rubber box. So what was a black rubber box? What do you think that is? It's probably something with like body parts.
It seems so, yeah.
Terrible. That same day, Mathew Queen left Bakersfield to go to Taft, another city nearby, I guess, at 10 a.m. 5 hours later, at 3 p.m., he returned to Bakersfield. The next day, at 5 p.m., he went back to Taft. And 4 hours later, at 9 p.m., came back to Bakersfield. 2 days later, Mathew Van de Castile, by the looks of it, searched online for replacing shower doors and how to dissolve a human body. And then Mathew Queen called Mathew Van de Castile 10 minutes before something else, blah, blah, blah. And this is where I'm gonna hit you with something. Listen up. April 1st. Jane, Baylee's mother, she was out of town. She returned home on April 1st. She was out for like a few days prior to that. And as she entered her home, she found Mathew Queen in her home with Baylee. Because Baylee was still alive at this point. We're only talking about, Micah went missing. Baylee went missing a month after Micah.
Yeah.
At this point, Jane comes back home. She finds Mathew Queen and Baylee. Mathew Queen is in her house. Like, what? And he is repairing the shower door, toilet tank lid, and bathroom trash cans are all missing. And that Baylee told her mother Jane that, she damaged the shower during a miscarriage. Because Baylee at that point was allegedly pregnant with Mathew Queen's baby, and she had a miscarriage. And apparently they somehow had the miscarriage in the bathroom of Baylee's mother's house for like some weird reason. But it is highly, highly suspected that in reality they took Micah's body to Jane's house as Jane was out of town, and they were actively dismembering Micah in Jane's bathroom. That's why all the trash cans are missing and everything. And then Baylee said, it was a miscarriage here.
That is terrifying.
They were even replacing the door, the shower door. I think we should suspect that Micah has been dismembered in Jane's bathroom.
I'm having chills right now. It's so weird.
Strange.
No, it's terrifying. It's so disturbing.
This was not on the docuseries.
No, not at all.
And the other thing from the timeline that I would like to quickly talk about, really quickly, about maybe the timeline that Olivia Lavoie told us will give us a little bit of a better insight into what could have happened to Baylee. So, April 25th was the day when Baylee went missing, okay? So let's talk a little bit about it. And I have some timeline details. And you tell me what you think about it. So Baylee texts reveal emotional distress, apparently. She's saying, I'm no good for him, and he knows it. Queen will go to jail, and it's my fault. This is what she sent to her mother, Jane, on the day when she went missing. At 6:45 p.m., she expresses guilt and responsibility for Queen's fate. Last known communication was a 3-second call from the Oildale area, and Queen's son later tells police that Baylee and Queen had an argument on the 25th of April, and Queen told Baylee to get out. Next day, on the 26th, at 12 a.m., Baylee texted, "My phone is dead and I got to go." I think this is the text message that was sent to her mother. 3 minutes later, another text was sent to the mother, "Leave him alone, this is all my fault." Queen claims that Baylee got into a SUV with a heavy-looking man and left, and this has never been corroborated. Baylee's phone continues to ping in the areas near Queen's home and Tehachapi in the following days. Tehachapi is a deserty area, as I understand. The next day, there were text and social media logins that were made from Baylee's phone, and she was posting that I effed up, I need to disappear on April 27. On April 28th, a Snapchat access from Samsung 8 was made, and some Gmails were accessed in the next couple of days. Long story short, it looks like what happened to Baylee is that Mathew Queen was operating her phone and texting her mom that I got to go and leave him alone, this is all my fault, and then posting on social media, I effed up, I need to disappear, all while he is making, all while Baylee's phone is pinging in the deserty areas around Bakersfield. So we think that maybe he killed Baylee on the 25th and then was using her phone to send fake messages.
Do you think there's a possibility that it was Baylee herself?
That she vanished herself?
Mm-hmm.
I think theoretically it's possible, but I wouldn't be leaning towards it.
Yeah.
It's a tough case, a tough, cracky case.
It's really
Cracky?
tough. Sorry?
No, nothing.
Okay. It's really tough because they're all interconnected, and it feels like the more information we know, the graver the crime is, and like more people are involved, and then Mathew Queen is like a freaking psycho. You know what I mean?
She's Mathew Queen is a psycho.
Yeah, and then Baylee seems to be more involved than what we thought, but it's kind of like also, I don't know, like she's confused or something.
What do you think happened to Baylee? Because we know James is dead. We know that Micah has been killed, most likely by the 3 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Baylee? I believe that she was killed by by Mathew Queen.
Yeah, but I am also considering the fact that she may have ran away and never come back.
Yeah. Do you think that? Well, I wouldn't consider it. I would say that if she ran away, she wouldn't live for a long time because she looked like she needed help.
Yes,
She
I
had
agree with that.
bipolar disorder. It looked like she would need mental help.
And someone would know that she's probably in another state or something.
Do you think that James's killing is connected to Micah and Baylee? Because we know Micah and Baylee are definitely connected. But what about James? Do you think that there's a connection?
I mean, it's chilling that he was connected to James, to Micah.
Micah. Yeah.
James and Micah were friends.
We don't know to which extent, but they definitely knew each other.
Yes, and it's also pretty odd that drugs were involved. So
That's not a good thing.
definitely not. Once it's involved, then you're involved with shady people immediately. Like there's some sort of connection. But this weird, what's his name again?
Dr. Bajwa.
Yeah, this guy is super suspicious.
So let me tell you more about Dr. Bajwa. This is what I found online. I went in and I looked up Dr. Bajwa.
Wait, is he still active?
So this is the crazy thing. Dr. Bajwa, he has Bajwa Sukhjit Singh Doctor on Google Maps in Bakersfield. It's a 3.7 out of 5 star chiropractor in Bakersfield. And
That's not a good sign.
And the thing is, 6 months ago, Dr. Bajwa pinned, I believe, a Google review sticky saying always call first to make an appointment, like you would do at any doctor's office. Like, I bet he had people just coming in for like a back alignment. Also, please click on Jose Castaneda's Google review profile. I do not know what that is, but still. And then Jose Castaneda is another review from 6 years ago. There's a review on this chiropractor practice, and you know what it says? He's never there, and when he is, he smells like weed. And you can't understand what he is saying. He made my back problems worse.
Oh my gosh. That sounds awful.
Would you go for a...
Of course not. Nope. This sounds like he's gonna break my back. And definitely a shady guy with a shady background.
6 months ago from now.
So he's still operating.
He's still out there aligning backs. Maybe he's really great at like his work.
Look at the Google reviews.
Some of them are 5 stars. Just one guy saying that he smells like weed. But this is
Maybe
where
just
this is where I'm gonna the most bizarre thing about this whole case, and this is what I'm gonna tell you, and this is the most bizarre thing that I found. This is so strange. Let's talk a little bit about Sada Wiedemeyer. Let's talk a little bit about Sada Wiedemeyer.
Sarah?
Sarah.
Okay.
What was I saying?
Sada.
Sada.
I was like, who is this person now?
Long podcast, guys. Long podcast. No breaks and long podcast. But let me tell you about Sarah Wiedemeyer. Okay, so I found a little bit of statements from the courts, blah, blah, blah. Quickly want to mention. She says that, or someone says that in the afternoon, Sada Wiedemeyer, the ex-girlfriend of Mathew Van
Sarah, everyone.
So Sarah Wiedemeyer, the ex-girlfriend of Mathew Van de Castile and Mathew Queen, testified. She said in 2017 that she drove Queen around town and he had a large rifle with him. She says that she didn't know the reason of her driving him was for him to get a gun. She says when she knew she was pregnant, she told him to get rid of his guns. Sarah Wiedemeyer says that Mathew Queen sold his gun to pay for the mortgage on his home. At one point, they played a phone call between Van de Castile and his girlfriend, Sarah Wiedemeyer, where Van de Castile said, "Remember who Micah is? Because you were at my effing house that night. You are probably going to end up the same way if you do him dirty." So it seems like Sarah Wiedemeyer was also at the house when Micah was killed in Van de Castile's home. But this is not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about that as we speak, there is a LinkedIn profile for a Sarah Wiedemeyer from...
Is this legal?
Yes, it is. Come on. LinkedIn is like Facebook.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Relax. As we speak, there is a Sarah Wiedemeyer from Bakersfield, California, who is a surgical technologist at Kern Medical Surgery Center. Surgery technologists are people who give the surgeon the tools as they cut open a person. So you're telling me, and I even asked ChatGPT, and he said, interesting find, if Sada Wiedemeyer, who was involved in the events surrounding Baylee's disappearance, is currently working as a surgical technologist at Kern Medical Surgery Center, this raises serious ethical and investigative concerns, particularly if she has never been properly investigated or charged in relation to the case. And it looks like this...
Does she look like... Have you seen the picture in LinkedIn?
No.
Does she look like the one that we've seen in the documentary?
I can't even find the Sarah Wiedemeyer anywhere. She's not online in general. But do you think there's another Sarah Wiedemeyer in Bakersfield?
I mean, the name is not common. Well,
It's
Sarah
not.
is. The last name is not.
It's not. It legit is the same Sarah Wiedemeyer. I don't believe it's just another Sarah. So you're telling me there's a surgery taking place and you have this Sarah Wiedemeyer, this potentially implicated criminal who should most likely be doing 20 years, helping out a surgeon right now in Kern County? Are you really gonna have a surgery with Wiedemeyer giving you or the surgeon like tools?
I mean, hey, a girl's gotta work. She probably is a mom right now, and Mathew Queen is in prison. She has to work, you know.
Yeah, man. So that's the finding that I want to bring up. Bizarre.
Really bizarre that the police kind of, I don't know what they did.
I don't know how she's in there.
I don't know, police.
It's Kern Medical Surgery Center that should really,
Do a background check.
yeah, right? At least feels to me. Or maybe this is a different Sarah Wiedemeyer.
Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's pure coincidence. It's tough to say. But what are the odds, you know? What are the odds of having two Sarah Wiedemeyer? Did I say it the last name correctly?
Yeah.
In a 400K town.
I would say very small.
Very small.
Thank you guys for listening. I don't have anything else to add,
Oh, okay.
unless you would like to mention something.
No, not really.
Because I think what we agreed upon is that Micah and Baylee are connected, and I do suspect that Baylee was involved in Micah's killing. And I would say there is too little information to guess if James' killing was connected to any of the other people mentioned before. Is just that I suspect that it could be.
One more question. If Baylee was indeed killed by Mathew Queen, why do you think that is?
I think maybe because Baylee probably knew enough information, and then maybe after the murder of Micah, she felt remorse and
She's gonna rat out.
and maybe yeah. What do you think?
I kind of agree with you on this. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a possibility that she just ran away, living in some other place, maybe remotely. But what you said earlier was right. She seemed like the type of person who would be dependent on someone or something, would need help.
Yeah.
And maybe seeing her mother on documentaries and on social media crying and desperate to find her, she probably wouldn't be able to take it, and she would go back and let her mom know she's alive. But since there are no news whatsoever, I'm also assuming that she is unfortunately deceased.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good time to wrap up. Thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode, and more stuff is coming your way soon. Tell us what you think, and we will talk to you on the next episode. Thank you.
See you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.